Well, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me again today. If it is noon on Tuesday, you know that it's time for Thinking Tuesday. And I consider this an opportunity to reflect on our thinking, evaluate what we think, how we think, and determine how our thinking is serving us, how our current mindset is serving us, and having the courage after evaluating our thinking to make adjustments to our mindset if it's not serving us, and of course, reinforce those parts of our thinking that's serving us well. So, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to a great afternoon with you. There are some things that I want to talk about today that many of you are aware of. And I am just so excited, really, and thankful for this opportunity to speak on this because I know it's been the buzz. But the one thing that we all have control about, and you've heard me say this all the time, we all have control about how we think. And fortunately, we have the freedom, we always have the freedom to change our thinking at any given time that we choose. That's all within our control. Even though we might feel out of sorts sometimes, we always have the choice and the ability and the freedom to change our way of thinking. Here on Tuesday, Thinking Tuesday, we promote the fact that your mind is a garden and your thoughts are the seeds. And you can choose to grow flowers, which are those positive thoughts, or you can choose to grow weeds. You can always replace negative thinking with positive thinking. And even though it might not always come easily, because it doesn't always come easy, we can train our minds to behave in ways that serve us. You've also heard me say that our thoughts drive our feelings, and our feelings drive our actions, and that is true. So thinking is always in the driver's seat. That's where it begins. That's where our journey begins, from thinking to action. And even if we're not aware of our thinking at a given time, at a given moment, we can pause and reflect and trace our final actions back to the thoughts, followed by the feelings that ultimately led to whatever actions we take. So we can be mental detectives, if you want to call it that. If we're not aware of what drove us to take a certain action, we can reflect back and go back to, well, what was I thinking then? And what was that thinking causing me to feel that led me to take that action? It's better if we do it before, but if we are not able to do it before in the moment, we can always reflect back. So, this is the point I wanted to get to today that I was referencing earlier. If you did not watch the Academy Awards last Sunday, then you must have heard or read by now about the surprising turn of events uh, with the actions of actor Will Smith when he got up from his seat and took big strident steps up to the podium or the stage and slapped Chris Rock, who was presenting one of the awards. Everyone was stunned. And I, like many watching this moment unfold, I first wondered if this was staged, because you know Hollywood. But then after following the verbal statements made by Will Smith, some of which were muted, we quickly realized that this was not staged, that this was not an act. This was for real. It was unfolding before our very eyes. For those who might not have heard of the incident, if there are any who did not hear about the incident, Chris Rock, in his introductory monologue, poked fun at some people in attendance, and he made a comment to Jada Pinkett Smith, Will's wife, that both of them felt were disrespectful and humiliating. He made reference to her about her bout with alopecia, which is a medical condition which leads to hair loss. Although he didn't mention it specifically, it was very clear that his comment was related to that. It was clear from Jada's facial expression that this was not well received, since it's a very, very sensitive issue of which he's been speaking publicly. So initially, Will was seen laughing. He was seen laughing at the intended joke. But then, upon brief reflection, I would imagine, he acted and proceeded to assault Chris. So, like I said, everyone was stunned. But upon accepting his Oscar for Best Actor, which followed, and without referencing the exact issue or the exact incident, Will commented that he, like the father of Venus and Serena Williams, the character he played in King Richard, is a fierce defender of his family. Then he went on to tearfully apologize to the Academy, to the producers, to his fellow nominees, but he did not apologize to Chris Rock. So there's been a lot of fallout since that incident, with the Academy now doing a full investigation of the incident with some possibilities of actions or consequences to follow. So on the following day, Will Smith issued an apology to Chris Rock, who decided not to press charges. So this is what Will said. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. Then he went on to say, I would like to apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line. I was wrong. I am embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of the man that I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. And then he added, violence in all forms is poisonous and destructive. He also apologized to the family of tennis stars Venus and Serena Williams, who were also in attendance, and those involved in the film for which he got the award. He said, I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for all of us. I am a work in progress, and we all are. I also don't condone violence. But I raise this issue not to look at it in a negative way, but to shine a light on the power of pausing. Yes, the power of pausing. There is power in pausing. In a moment of reflection, Will has been able to turn his experience into insight. This can be one of the most positive things that come out of an experience that otherwise can be seen as negative, humiliating, or depressing. If there's no insight into this, then it remains just a negative experience. I'm sure we've often heard, or we often say, that experience is the best teacher. Haven't you heard that? Now, I've heard that growing up all my life, and I have used it sometimes as an adult until I decided to look at it differently. But because as we see in this example, it is not the experience in and of itself that taught Will a lesson. And we hope he's learned the lesson. We're taking his apology and his statements, we're taking them seriously. But it's not just the experience in and of itself that has taught him a lesson, because he felt vindicated after protecting his wife, who he felt was disrespected. But it was after pausing and reflecting, which is thinking through his actions and reflecting on his feelings, that led to his actions, that he was able to acknowledge that his actions were not the best route to protect his wife. It was upon thinking, reflecting about the experience, not the experience in and of itself. Now, I don't have time to dissect all the possible reasons why Will Smith took the actions he did. Clearly, he initially thought it was funny, and also might have been more caught up in the humor and became aware of how this would affect his wife later on. Or he might have been thinking about what message is this sending about him as a man, as a husband, to those watching, who would allow such jabs to be taken at his wife without defending or protecting her in some way. So there might have been a lot of thoughts going on in his mind, but we just saw the action. So it was obvious that he was caught off guard, and he reacted emotionally, as he said. And like I said, I don't condone violence, but my point here is the ability to pause, reflect, and take action. So although there are many, many lessons to be learned from this incident, like I said, my message to you today is that we should always pause and reflect to the extent that we can. Everyone needs time and a place to pause. We get so caught up in what's going on in our lives, and we get so distracted by all of the confusion around us. We have to intentionally pause and reflect on our actions. We sometimes act precipitously and suffer the consequences, as Will probably will. But it's never too late to pause, to reflect, to think, and then take action to correct what needs to be corrected. It's never too late to pause, to reflect, to think. So I ask you today, is there something that you need to pause and reflect about? Is there some action that you have taken that you should be pausing and reflecting about? Was it the right direction or the right decision? Is there some action that you are about to take that you should take time now to pause and reflect on how you're going to proceed forward? Pause before taking the action rather than the reverse when the action has already been taken. Remember that we have control over what we think and how we think, and knowing that our thinking is what begins that journey to action, we need to pause, we need to reflect to the extent that we're able to do at any given moment. Pause, reflect. Start your day by reflecting on what you are about to embark on. Reflection is always good. It helps to begin to build a path forward or look retrospectively at what we've done. So start your day by pausing, reflecting, meditating, and also end your day by reflecting on what you've done. What have you done? Did you take the right steps? Is there something that you could have done differently, because tomorrow is always another opportunity, fortunately. The reflecting, the evaluation, the thinking on what we've done, the experiences that we've had, teaches us not the experience in and of themselves, but it's the reflection, the thinking, the reflection on those experiences that teach us those lessons. So I hope that this has served you today. As I always do, please share it with someone who can benefit from it. It's also on my YouTube channel, Cheryl Burton, Thinking Tuesday. I also encourage you to visit my website, drcherylburton.com, to see the many programs and services which are all geared to your personal growth and being a better you, because we can always improve on who we are today. You may also book me for speaking engagements and request a complimentary consultation through my website as well, drcherylburton.com. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at the same time, 12 noon, for another opportunity for Thinking Tuesday, where we elevate and stretch our thinking. Take care for now. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at noon. Bye for now. Have a wonderful day. Reflect, pause, and reflect. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.